Good evening and welcome to our newly revamped room. Hopefully the hearing is better or the audio is better for everyone. Welcome. Today's Tuesday, 14th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. We will begin with Mr. Howard and the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could ask you just to stand for a moment of reflection of everything that's happening in this world today, and just to give some perspective so that we can. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. McCoy, please call the roll.
Mr. Bergarelli, Mr. Doré,
Present.
Mr. Grant. Present. Mr. Harvey. Present. Mr. Howard. Mr. Levinstein. Here. Ms. Mineo.
Here.
Ms. Politi.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Thank you. We'll move into Dr. Manny Campbell and some presentations that will be made.
Thank you so much. Good evening and welcome. It's so great to see you all tonight. Our first presentation for tonight is by Fostertown School. Ms. Andrea Moriarty, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, will be introducing our amazing group.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. At this time, I'd like to introduce the wonderful fourth and fifth graders from Fostertown who have been working really hard on the Lion King Jr. performance, which will have its live performances next week at school. But tonight, they're here to give us a little surprise of what it might look like. And we have their teacher, Amy Kostrick, with them, who I think is going to say a few words as well. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Dr. Manning Campbell, Mr. President, members of the Board of Education. My name is Amy Kostrick. I am the Creative Academic Specialist at Fostertown Elementary School. I have with me tonight 15 talented students from Fostertown Elementary's production of The Lion King Jr. We are performing a song called Shadowland. Now, this is just a representation of the 85 students, 4th and 5th grade, that are involved in this production. Fostertown has never performed The Lion King Jr. before. All sets, costumes, and props have been created from the ground up through the collaboration of many of our own faculty members. Our students are under the musical direction of Ms. Star Sanderson. The stage crew is supervised by Ms. Terry Colon, Ms. Michelle Delgado. And also, as always, thank you to our supportive administration, Dr. Vasquez and Mrs. Cameron. Our cast tonight has Mattingly Riglione as Nala, Alyssa Vargas as Rafiki, and the Lionesses, Sophia Orduna, Camila Orduna, Dominique Jerome, Ariana Hernandez, Camila Pena, Gabriela Johnson, Jaciana Rodriguez, Lilia Gonzalez, Lauren Spooner, Marina Hernandez, Lily Hines, and Paris Ruffin. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story of The Lion King. The song that we are going to perform takes place in the show when Nala realizes that she needs to leave Pride Rock and to find Simba so he can come home and take his place as the rightful king. We sincerely hope you're all able to join us on May 30th and 31st to see the full production at Fostertown. And now, the cast of The Lion King Jr. start that over again? Thank you.
Excellent. Next, we have our student council representatives who will be presenting tonight. Their advisors, Ms. Grossman and Ms. Russo, will introduce them.
Good evening, how are you tonight? We will have our president, Abby D'Agostino, treasurer Arna Patel, Senator Matthew Gessner, and Senator Sophia Turner, and they will be giving you a little presentation on the good things that are happening at NFA.
Good evening. We are the freshman class representatives of the Student Council. My name is Abby D'Agostino, and I'm the freshman class president, and I attend the main campus. Advanced fashion students wore the clothes they designed and produced on a field trip to NYC's Bryant Park, accompanied by senior cosmetology students who did their hair and makeup. The photo 2 and 3 students practiced their fashion photography skills on their first on-location photo shoot. On April 18th, the NFA Jazz Band and Chamber Strings performed at the NFA main fundraiser event, Empty Bowls. This annual event raises money for the food bank of the Hudson Valley. The music department was happy to provide dinner music for the attendees. On April 20th, the NFA Band, Orchestra, and Madrigal Singers performed in the Music in the Parks Adjudication Festival. Band and orchestra earned superior ratings, madrigals earned excellent ratings. These were the 2 highest ratings the groups could receive. After the performances, the students enjoyed the day at Six Flags New England. On April 30th, students from the NFA Maine Rock History and Applied Guitar classes traveled to Bethel Woods Center for Performing Arts. They spent the afternoon discussing music history and the societal changes taking place during the 1960s. They created artwork reflecting their personal messages about peace, watched films of the 1969 Music Festival, and toured the site where the original festival took place. On May 2nd, the NFA Maine Music Department presented their Spring Concert 1. Groups performed were the NFA Jazz Band, Chamber Strings, Cecile Chaminade Treble Chorus, Robert D. Williams Tenor Bass Chorus, Electric Keyboard Ensemble, and Percussion Ensemble. On May 3rd and 4th, students from the NFA Maine Orchestra and Chorus performed in the OCMEA Junior High All-County Music Festival held at Monroe Woodbury High School. These students had to pass a rigorous audition process in order to be accepted into these honors level performing groups. Some upcoming events for NFA Music is May 15th, we have our solo recital, and May 17th and 18th is the NISMA Solo Festival.
Good evening. My name is Arna Patel. I'm the freshman class treasurer, and I attend the main campus. The NFA Dance Ensemble, directed by NFA dance teacher Mandy Clifford, traveled to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, to participate in Disney's Imagination Campus Youth Performance Series. During the Disney Dancing Workshop, they learned choreography from Disney's casting and talent coordinators, had a Q&A session about auditions and college programs available at Walt Disney World, and participate in a mock audition. They lit up the stage during their performance, a 20-minute disco-inspired routine, on the waterslide stage at Disney Springs. The NFA Dance Ensemble joins a select group of high school dance teams that have successfully auditioned to be a guest cast member at Walt Disney World. 3 members of NFA musical production cast of Hairspray, directed by NFA dance teacher Mandy Clifford, have been nominated for Roger Rees Awards. The Roger Reed Awards recognizes distinction in students' performance and outstanding achievement in high school musical theater programs. NFA senior Kiara Graziano was selected as a finalist in the student reporter category. As a finalist, she attended a master class with professional arts media specialists and was able to interview cast members from a current Broadway production of The Outsiders. NFA seniors Nivea Bell and Liz Prado were selected as nominees for the Outstanding Performer in a Musical Award. Nivea for her portrayal for Motormouth Maple, and Liz for her portrayal of Tracy Turnblad in NFA's production of Hairspray. Nivea and Liz participate in a masterclass of coaching sessions during the preliminary round of Roger Rees on Sunday, May 5th. Liz Prado was selected to move to the next round, which will take place in New York City, May 17th to 19th. She will continue with the Broadway Professionals and be coached for her showcase, where she is running to win for the Roger Rees Award for Outstanding Performer in a Musical Production, a precursor to the Jimmy Awards, the National High School Musical Theater Awards. Congratulations to all our nominees, and we wish Liz the best of luck in the next round. The World Languages celebrated the induction of Honor Society students to the Italian and Spanish Honor Societies on Thursday, May 9th.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Gessner, and I'm freshman class senator, and I attend the main campus, NFA West Learning through internships, LTI for short, Program sites were visited on Thursday, April 25th. Some of the sites include Calandria, Buick, GMC, Newburgh City Court Judge, Thornwillow Press, and Hudson Valley Justice Center. NFA West students from Living Environment and Field Biology visited Sam's Point in the Minnewaska State Park Preserve to learn about human impacts on the environment, local historical culture, and fire ecology. The students took part in four stations to learn from the environmental educators of Sam's Point. NFA West alum Anthony Barrett is the true definition of every gold back every day. Anthony spoke with our young man in the MBK program about his journey and shared some important advice. He shared that as a man, you have to determine where you want to be, what you want in life, and how to get there. NFA West attended the 2024 My Brother's Keeper (MBK) coronation on Thursday, May 9th. The event was powerful and allowed for scholars across the district to celebrate the amazing work that was started by former President Barack Obama in 2014. NFA West had 20 young men attend this event. NFA West opened its meditation and wellness room for students and staff members. Students and staff members engaged in yoga, journaling, stress coloring, meditation, and reading. This will be open to students one day each week. NFA West hosted Earth Day 2024. Students were challenged to repurpose 10 or fewer sheets of used copy paper and create a freestanding 6-inch tall platform to support as many large science textbooks, 4.6 pounds each, as possible. The winning platform supported 11, that's more than 50 pounds. The Sonia Dixon Garden initiative is progressing very well. We have cleared all the beds and have begun planting. Our seedlings are getting stronger and should be ready to plant right after Mother's Day weekend. We are looking forward to our first trip to the food bank. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sophia Turner. I'm a freshman class senator and I attend the main campus. In honor of Poetry Month, the Colonnade hosted a Roaring Twenties themed speakeasy coffee house on April 30th in the Black Box. We had a great turnout. The jazz band and madrigals performed while Stephen Gonzalez painted a scene inspired by the energy generated by the performances. Vivian Gage and Malia Robinson, the Flapper MCs for the event, quizzed the audience about student life as documented in the 1929 NFA yearbook. Audience members signed up to read their own work or poems of their favorite poets. The NFA Library Poetry Slam at Barnes & Noble, run by Amanda O'Neill and Almara Tydre, was a great exhibition of the amazing literary talent of our NFA students. We had representatives from Maine, Northwest, EHS, and a homeschooled student from our NSCSD community. A special thank you to all the students, staff, and board members that helped make this night a success. Club, social, emotional learning members put positive affirmation sticky notes in the NFA girls and boys bathrooms to help improve students' self-esteem. We have an upcoming senior first staff kickball game scheduled for 2:30 on Tuesday, May 21st. There will be 3 games of 4 innings. We can't wait to see who wins. We had a Fiesta Latina event on May 10th, wrap up our Hispanic Heritage events for the 2023 and 2024 school year. Students, parents, faculty, staff, and community members came together to celebrate Hispanic Year. Students, parents, Hispanic heritage through the sharing of resources, music, food, and dance. We acknowledge our history and are encouraged by the manner in which our rich cultural background came together to uplift each other. Sports news. The boys golf team won the OCIA's Division I Team Championships May 7th, 2024. Brady ran a state leading in the 800 meter in the Middletown Invitational. The boys 4x800 team broke a school record at the Penn Relays. The varsity softball team won the Minisink Valley Tournament.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Next up, Dr. Natasha Freeman Mack, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, will be introducing the students who will be recognized for the Spelling Bee Art Contest this evening.
This is gonna bug me. I'll deal with it. So, good evening. So we have a spelling bee. We have a spelling bee. We have a spelling bee next Tuesday here. We have a spelling bee at NFA Maine next Tuesday. I believe it starts at 5:30. 5:30, spelling bee, NFA Maine. 5:30, spelling bee, NFA Maine. 3 Bs that night. The first B is for grades. Well, it's for first to second grade will be the first B. That's a very important B. We need lots of huggers and patience. For the second B, it'll be grades, second grade, third grade, third and fourth grade will be the second B. Still need lots of huggers and patience. Third B that evening will be for fifth and sixth grade. We still need lots of huggers and patience. Spelling Bee, Tuesday, May 21st, 5:30, NFA, Maine. So in order to create the spelling bee, we wanted to have some fun and create some artwork, but we wanted students to create that. So we have some winners. We have winners that created t-shirts for each student to wear for each grade level spelling bee. They also created a banner that's going to go on the table for the spelling bee. They also created the t-shirts that the volunteers are wearing with their little antlers, bee antlers. Also, and they really did some incredible designs. And I'm sure you wish you could see them, but you can't unless you come Tuesday night to the spelling bee at NFA Maine at 5:30. That's when you can see all the t-shirts that they created. But I'm gonna let you meet Maria Pushkanter, who's gonna explain who the winners are, and we have some little goodies to give them as well. They are going to receive a gift certificate to Barnes & Noble's and some other little cute surprises along with a certificate. Come push.
Okay. All right. Good evening. So we have a lot of talented students in this district, but I'm sure we already know that. So since we already know the spelling bee is on May 21st, but I'll reiterate, May 21st, spelling bee. 5:30 at NFA Maine, in case there were any questions. All right, so we had many entries, and it was not easy to choose. So congratulations, Helen Ramos. Her design won the design for the pamphlet. Thank you, Helen. Stand right there. From GAMS, we have Jasmine Nelson, whose design won the t-shirt design for grades 1 through 2. Congratulations, Adrian Lapas Flores, whose design won the t-shirt contest for grades 3 through 4. Okay. Congratulations, Valesca Sabillon, whose design won the t-shirt design for grade 5. And also from Temple, Eric Rivera Quintero, whose design won the t-shirt design for grade 6. Lastly, we have Gabriela Mozarrojo, whose design won the staff t-shirt design. And we have Tina Wang, whose design won the banner design from NFA Maine, but I don't think she's here because she has a game tonight. Oh, you are? Okay. She sent me an email that she wasn't going to be here. Okay. Never mind. Sure. Congratulations.
So, all of you that are standing up here, we will have a t-shirt for you. You don't have to come to the B to get it. I'll make sure you get your t-shirt that you designed. I promise. No, I don't do pictures. May 20th. Say it again for me. It's May 21st. At 5:30. Are you getting it? No. May 21st, 5:30. NFA Maine.
Ready? 1, 2. Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Freeman Mack will also be introducing our My Brother's Keeper students for a brief presentation about their experience as fellows.
So, am I on? Yeah. The My Brother's Keeper Fellows Program has been in Newburgh since its inception, I believe in 2014, 2016. Thank you, 2016. Mr. MBK gave me that information. So the My Brother's Keeper program has been in Newburgh since 2016. We've had an incredible journey with it. But I think the person who can best explain it is this gentleman in this video. Can we go to the next slide, please? After him. And can you click? And it should start. Nope. Click in the, thank you. No. On the screen that has Barack Obama. There's a video link in it. There we go. Thank you so much. Could we?
One thing I've come to appreciate over the last decade is that improving the lives of boys and young men of color is bigger than any one person or group of people. It requires everybody. Parents, neighbors, teachers, administrators, local governments, everybody in between, all working together to make a difference. And I'm really proud that My Brother's Keeper has grown a lot over the last 10 years. One thing I've come to appreciate over the last decade is that improving the lives of boys and young men of color is bigger than any one person or group of people. It requires everybody, parents, neighbors, teachers, administrators, local governments, everybody in between, all working together to make a difference. And I'm really proud that my brother's keeper has grown a lot over the last 10 years. Right now, over 100 communities are part of the MBK Leadership Network, and the impact has been pretty amazing. An entire generation of boys and young men of color have gone through this program, and we've heard so many stories of young men who are about to drop out of school before they joined MBK. Now a lot of them have their degrees or are leading MBK's work in their own communities. Sadly, we have lost some young men along the way, often to incarceration or gun violence. And every time that happens, it's a painful reminder that there's a lot more work to do. We've also learned that every generation brings its own set of problems and complexities. Kids these days are dealing with different challenges than there were even 10 years ago. Things like social media and how they're handling issues of mental health, young people who've gone through the pandemic, kids dropping out of school during the pandemic and never going back, and losing touch with the institutions that might give them some sense of a pathway forward. But, instead of seeing all these new challenges as an insurmountable hurdle, we think of it as an opportunity to listen and get to know young people, figure out what they need. Most of all, to let them know that they matter. Because some things will always be the same. Young people need a good education, they need good jobs, they need safe neighborhoods. Those things form the basis of the MBK Alliance's 6 milestones, which anchor all of the work that we do. And that's why I'm so proud of MBK. It's why it's a core program of the Obama Foundation. We are going to continue in this work to make sure that boys of color know that somebody is thinking about them, cares about them, believes in them, and that we're also sending a message to the broader society that if we invest in this incredible resource, that's not just good for those individual young men. It's going to be good for our entire society. And that's why we're here today, to bolster and reinforce our boys and young men of color. And we're committed to building on what works, and we call it My Brother's Keeper.
Thank you. So,
The first time that I met the Queen was visiting London. She reminded me very much.
yeah, we're done. You can go back to the slide.
Which surprised.
I could listen to him talk all day. I like that fella. So here in Newburgh with My Brother's Keeper, we have the distinction to have 4 fellows. Most school districts only have 2 fellows. We have the luxury of having 4 because we have over 10,000 students in our district. I was at a meeting and I was gonna ask them for 2 more, but when school districts were like, can we have 4? I just decided to close my mouth. Can we go back to the slide, pretty please, the PowerPoint? Thank you. So we have that distinction to have 4 fellows. Fellows are chosen in the spring of their junior year to become MBK fellow. They are nominated by their building principals and they are interviewed, and we have conversations about what it means to be an MBK fellow. They serve the community with leadership, service, community service, community action. They speak to other students. They walk into a room and students get excited when they see these young men. And it's interesting because the young men, 2 of them are here today that you will meet, are not the same young men we met almost a year ago. And then we also had a coronation ceremony with 4 of our new MBK fellows, and 2 of our new MBK fellows that are about to embark on their journey are also here tonight. So without further ado, I'm gonna let you meet Hanif Inman. He is our graduating MBK fellow.
It's a little short. Take it out.
Hope you guys are doing well today. So I've been a member of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance since my sophomore year. And since then, I've had the privilege to participate in countless hours of community service, meet community leaders, and give back to the community that raised me. After the pandemic, I drifted for a long time. I had no stability or direction, and I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. When I joined MBK, so many doors opened. I was featured in a documentary for Martin Luther King Jr. I stood and delivered in Albany, and I got to offer much insight to some of the young minds in this community. Young people need to know that they have someone who cares about them. It's important because, like President Obama said, it takes a village. And I want to be a part of that village because there are some people who are in this room that were a part of my village that took me and brought me here to where I am today. MBK reminded me of the love that I have for this community and the love that's in this community. And it's important that I, as a member of the community, reciprocate that love and give back because it's important. Young people need to know that there are people who want to invest in their futures. I would like to give the mic to my brother, Matthew Patterson.
I'm also going to hold the mic because it makes me feel cool.
This is Tyson Hill, he's one, and Dion, they're not here this evening, but I really wish they were because all four of these boys are phenomenal. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, so I just like to say that my overall experience in the My Brother's Keeper program has been very educational, to say the least. I've just learned so much from not only the words of my mentors and my peers, but also through experience. Between our trips to Albany and the number of times we've been able to participate in meetings and ceremonies, it's always been an honor. But one of the main things that I feel I've learned through this experience is the power of speech. But not only the power of speech, but I've learned how to speak in front of people that want to hear what I have to say. I think this is about the fifth time I've talked in front of a crowd of important people, for lack of a better word, or at least an audience that's larger than, a classroom of students, which is what I'm used to. And of course, when I was walking up here, my hands were still a little shaky, but that's natural. But I feel good to be here. But my main point is I'm able to stand up here and talk in front of a crowd. But there's a lot of other kids my age who don't think they'd be able to do that in a million years. And what I want you guys to know is that's my glory, not my story. That's a quote I stole from New York City Mayor Eric Adams from one time we went to Albany. It's my glory, not my story. And I love that because what I mean by that is MBK is what allowed that transformation in me to, have the confidence that I have to be up here and speak in front of a lot of people. And MBK is what allowed me to mature. And I think it's truly an opportunity of a lifetime to have, mentors, not only mentors who are invested in my future, but also peers who are invested in my future. And I'm just incredibly grateful. Thank you.
So we have two new MBK fellows who will represent the Newburgh and Large City School District for the 24-25 school year. And I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Barrios. I am a proud Honduran in Newburgh. A little bit about myself is I grew up without a father throughout my childhood. So MBK has really impacted me, not just mentally, but physically. As a result of me losing my weight, I went into a depression where I would just keep eating, and my brotherhood really picked me up and was like, you could do this. I'm also part of the Blue Ribbon Committee. I am Mr. Commissioner, which I never thought I would say. And MBK is just to have pride, to have honor, to pick the ones that are down, to pick your brothers up, even if you're struggling. Struggle together to become someone that you would never know you would become. As I'm a business owner, I work and I am able to support my family, and not just my family, but my family that's in school, my MBK brothers, and just be able to talk freely. I've never been here, so it's an honor to be here to talk to the important people of this district. I'm just really happy that I'm able to give the chance to the new coming fellows, as I am a new coming fellow, and to be able to next year pass down the torch to someone that's just like me. Thank you.
Hello, faculty and staff. My name is Akir McNeil. Some may know me from NFA's school production of Hairspray, or my involvement with NFA's swimming and diving team, or crew team, or even advanced dance. Sorry, 1 second. And now you know me as a fellow for the up and coming school year. I'm happy to be a part of this program, My Brother's Keeper, because it provides a space for young men to build a brotherhood across the schools within our district. Being a part of this program allows for me to not only lead by example, but encourage the young men of color to recognize their goals and persevere through life struggles to reach those goals. I am my brother's keeper, and I'll continue to be my brother's keeper. Thank you.
Before you begin, Dr. Freeman Mack, I want to correct what you said. You are the important people in the room. We work for you.
I need Hanif and Matthew to come to the center so we can give you a certificate. And I would love for Mr. DeRay, Mr. Howard, and Dr. Campbell to come and take a picture with these young men, please. My two graduating fellows. Yes, ma'am?
Before we do that, Hanif, could you guys come?
I was gonna give them yeah, with you. Okay. There you go, ma'am.
Are you getting in? No. Ready? 1, 2. Hold on a second. Let me just double check. Fuck you. Thank you very much.
Yes. To the middle. To the middle. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. And I know that my brothers over there, they haven't said it because they don't have the microphone, but if they said it, they would mean it too. This program, like I said, it's touched a lot of lives. It's touched my life as well. You know, as you can tell from the swag that I'm repping, the swag that you bought, that you paid for, and that you took time to get fitted and all this stuff, you mean a lot in this district. And through MBK, we've connected in ways that not many people would understand. You really touch the lives of young people, and I want to say thank you. And I know that, my brothers who couldn't be here would also like to say thank you as well. We appreciate you.
One more hug for me.
Thank you.
I don't like stuff like that. Remember, 21st, 5:30, NFA Main, Spelling Bee. We have 3 MBK grants, and I'm really proud of them. We have a challenge grant that supports Newburgh Basics, reading on grade level by 3rd grade, and also financial literacy. And then we have a family and community engagement MBK grant. So there's more to come, y'all.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Dr. Freeman Mack, thank you for your work. It's great to see you. First of many. Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you. This evening, we are celebrating a very special 10-year anniversary and an initiative inspired by the heroic efforts of several of our fantastic, amazing, phenomenal employees. Don't turn around, it's you. Mr. Dada will be sharing more.
I just feel like we need to soak all that in before we start. Just amazing feeling around the room. As Dr. Campbell just mentioned, it is a 10-year anniversary. I'd like to formally begin with Mr. President, Dr. Campbell, members of the board, members of the executive team, a true good evening. Not about 10 years ago on Friday, April 11, 2014, at approximately 3:15 p.m., Andrea Dotto, at that time Miss Andrea Conklin, who's passing out some items for you, a math teacher at NFA North, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest and collapsed in the hallway near the guidance office while speaking to Miss Christine Harold, guidance counselor at NFA North. Ms. Harold immediately began to apply CPR and chest compressions on Andrea and yelled for help and to call 911. Ms. Susan Rockefeller, guidance secretary at the time, now retired, called 911 and began to proceed to the process of providing the information to the 911 dispatcher. At the same time, Mr. David Doolin, physical education teacher at NFA North, was in the main office checking on a student and heard what was happening just down the hall. Mr. Doolin ran to aid and assist. He secured the AED defibrillator that was mounted on the wall and assisted in using the AED to shock Andrea multiple times. Ms. Christine Hutchinson, English teacher at NFA North, had returned to the building at that time to pick up something she had forgotten, and when walking into the building and assisted with CPR and breaths. Ms. Jeannie Daly, a nurse at GAMS, now retired, was called, and she drove to North to assist with CPR. During the entire situation, Ms. Mia Duncan Rivera, security monitor at NFA North, assisted in securing the area and assisted the EMTs to enter the building to provide Andrea with medical care. Once the paramedics arrived, Andrea had to be shocked 2 more times before she was rushed to the hospital. Once in the emergency room, Andrea was placed in a coma to assist her breathing and to help limit any brain damage. It was uncertain if she would make it through the night. Family and friends prayed for her speedy recovery. After 3 days in a coma, Andrea came out of her coma and was able to recognize friends and family members. The neurologist gave her hope by saying that her brain function was becoming normal, and things looked hopeful. Her cardiologist called her a miracle, and Andrea was able to return to teaching after 6 months. These faculty and staff members were vital, the key word is vital, in saving Andrea's life. Andrea's cardiologist, Dr. B. Hadid, always says that these faculty and staff members are the reason why Andrea survived with no impairments, because several of them knew CPR and how to use the AED, otherwise known as the automatic external defibrillator. When Andrea spoke at the February 14, 2023 board meeting this year, she stated some important facts from the American Heart Association release of a report of the Heart and Stroke Statistics, a 2022 update. According to this report, cardiac arrest remains a public health crisis. There are more than 356,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests annually in the United States. That's nearly 1,000 people of any age each day, with nearly 90% of them being fatal. According to the American Heart Association, 70% of the Americans may feel helpless to act during a cardiac emergency because they either do not know how to administer CPR or their training has significantly lapsed. Andrea was truly lucky enough to have these individuals around that were able to act, which makes Andrea one of the only 10% of the people who survived cardiac arrest. Andrea also spoke to making CPR and AED training a priority to every NECSD employee. In May 2014, 1 month after Andrea's cardiac arrest, all faculty and staff members that assisted her were honored in this same room during a board meeting. There was a promise to train all staff in CPR and AED since Andrea's February 14, 2023 presentation. The district has begun the process of training staff in this important skill. As we honor the staff members again tonight on the 10th anniversary of their heroic act, we are exploring the opportunity to implement voluntary hands-only CPR and AED training for our staff in each school in our district. And more specific information will be forthcoming, and you have the information on hands-only CPR in front of you. Andrea's mission is to have all staff in the Newburgh and Larch City School District trained in at least, at the very minimum, the hands-only CPR and AED. It takes only 10 to 15 minutes to train someone. There are so many more incidents similar to Andrea's that happen every day to students, teachers, referees, parents, sisters, brothers that have suffered a cardiac arrest and were not as fortunate. Let's give everyone in our community a chance to be as lucky as Andrea. And please continue to make CPR and AED training a top priority in our school district. Andrea is happy to be a part of this. On this 10th anniversary of this miracle act, it is an honor to again, as I did 10 years ago, recognize the staff that truly are lifesavers. First, Ms. Christine Harold, Guidance Counselor. Mr. Dave Doolin, Physical Education Teacher.
Pardon me, Mr. Dotto. Could you just announce everybody's name and have them come up at the same time?
Ms. Susan Rockefeller, Retired Guidance Clerical. Ms. Mia Duncan Rivera, NECSD Security Monitor. And Ms. Hutchinson and Ms. Daly could not be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is 7 p.m. We have a public hearing scheduled, and we will begin with any speakers that would like to speak this evening.
So, point of order, Mr. President. There'll be a presentation by the Assistant Superintendent for Finance, and at the end of that, the public hearing for questions will be at the end of the presentation, sir.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to do a presentation on the proposed fiscal 25 budget. On this first slide, we show the year-over-year budget increases for the past 9 years. You'll see that the district had an increase in fiscal 24 of 10% and is proposing an increase of 7.5% for fiscal 25. On the lower chart, you will see that for the past 8 years, the district has not asked for a tax increase, but we are proposing a tax levy increase for fiscal 25 at 3.8%. This speaks to the tax levy calculation, which we have to provide to the state comptroller each year. The top line shows the maximum allowable levy limit for fiscal 25. The tax-based growth factor and the allowable levy growth factor are two factors that are determined at the state level. As part of the calculation, we have to look at our payments in lieu of taxes. For next year, they're proposed at $2.39 million based on the information we receive. Our capital exclusion is one of two exclusions available to us next year, as it is, so it's 3.7, and that number is based on the district's debt service expense minus the building aid that we'll receive from the state to support that expense. This year, the Employees Retirement System employer contribution rate increased by more than 2%, so every district in the state has this exclusion available to them. For Newburgh, it's just under $30,000. That brings us to a tax levy increase of $4.2 million or 3.8% within the tax levy limit. Here we look at the various sources of revenue. Our state sources of revenue total $225.38 million. Our local sources of revenue are $123.2 million. And we have use of appropriated reserves at 3.5 and appropriated fund balance at 7.87 for a total of $360.46 million. When we look at our state aid year over year, our state aid for the current fiscal year was $213.3 million, and the proposed budget is $225.38 million. It's important to note that as we went into fiscal 24, which is our current year, our state aid increased by $27.8 million. As we go into fiscal 25, our state aid is increasing by $12 million. That's a significant difference in the support from the state for the district's operations each year. We also have various sources of miscellaneous revenue, payments in lieu of taxes, utility taxes. Other revenue includes significant interest earnings that we are benefiting from at this time based on the Federal Reserve's tax or interest rates being very high. Here you'll also see the appropriated reserves and the appropriated fund balance again for about $19.5 million in miscellaneous revenue. The three-part budget is one of the ways the state has us share out the information to make it a little bit more digestible. So when we look at the 24-25, the administration includes a number of things. It includes our building administration, it includes district administration, HR, C&I, data and technology are all into that number. It is 7.87% of our proposed budget. The capital portion of our budget at $32.2 million includes our operations and maintenance department as well as our debt service. And the largest portion of our budget at almost $300 million is our program area, which is all of our instructional programs, athletics, transportation for our students, our SEL support staff, our tuition for out-of-district placements, and our exceptional learners in E&L program. That takes us to a total of $360.46 million. There are two propositions on the ballot this year. The first proposition is the school district's proposed budget at $360,461,399. The second proposition is for the Newburgh Free Library. Mr. Gawker was here and presented his proposed budget to the board back on April 9th. That budget is $6,184,480. We also have 6 board member seats up for election on May 21st, and there are 13 candidates running for those seats. They are presented here. Again, the vote is on May 21st, and polls are open from noon to 9.
At this time, the floor is open for anyone who has any questions on the budget presentation or the budget.
We also have public hearing, public comment, which you're signed up for too, ma'am.
Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Roaring, for the edification of everyone in this room and for all listening who will hear this meeting on social media, could you please, in layman's term, explain what happens if the budget is not voted, if it is defeated? Can you tell us who it impacts, what will be the implications, and what will be next steps?
If the budget is to be defeated next Tuesday, the district will go to a contingent budget, which means that we would reduce $4.2 million in expenditures because we cannot raise the tax levy without the voters' authorization. Those reductions would include additional faculty and staff. It would include instructional materials and supplies. It would include reductions in general support to our instructional program. It would include reductions in athletics, and it would significantly decrease our equipment funds available for the next year. So instructional technology equipment, as well as athletics equipment and operations and maintenance equipment.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, if the budget is defeated, that will be the next steps, or will there be another opportunity, or does it go directly to contingency?
I believe the intent is to go to contingent if the budget is defeated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward.
Dawn Fuchek. Okay. I have also heard the rumblings out there in the community that there is a push to vote down this proposed budget. And I also want to be sure that everyone understands the ramifications of that decision. Should the budget be voted down, in addition to the cuts that have already been proposed in the budget, we would need to cut another $4.2 million. Since we will not be able to spend more than $356 million, that means should we receive more money from the state, which we typically do, we will not be able to use that revenue to put things back into the budget. So I want people to be aware of what voting down this budget means. Regardless of the revenue we have coming in, we legally will not be able to spend more than $356 million. Make no mistake that by voting no on the budget, it means more cuts. It hurts our scholars and all the people that are here supporting them.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment on the budget? Okay, not seeing anyone else, we'll be closing the public hearing on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Roaring. Lastly, I will be presenting Mr. Mark Levenstein and Mr. Philip Howard with recognitions we received last week on behalf of the New York State School Boards Association. Mr. Levenstein is being recognized for earning a Level 2 Lifetime Achievement Award under the NYSBA Board Excellence Recognition Program. He will be recognized in NYSBA's onboard newspaper and will receive a certificate of recognition. Congratulations. Mr. Howard is being recognized for earning a Level 4 Lifetime Achievement Award under the NYSBA Board Excellence Recognition Program. This is NYSBA's highest award level in this program. Mr. Howard will receive a certificate for free registration to NYSBA's annual event, a certificate of recognition, a commemorative plaque, and an executive pen set. Congratulations. NYSBA's program is designed to acknowledge school board members who strive to continually expand their governance, knowledge, and skills. Congratulations to Mr. Howard and Mr. Levenstein for these well-deserved recognitions. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our presentations for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Manning. We will move to public comment on agenda items.
There's one person signed up, Mr. President. It's Miss Ashley Flannery on budget and the teaching assistants.
Good evening. I am here tonight as parent, taxpayer, and first grade teacher in the Newburgh Enlarged City School District to speak on behalf of the first grade teaching assistants. I have been teaching first grade for many years. There have been years and years without a TA, and the past 2 years with the TA, so I am able to make a solid comparison. The children in my class the past 2 years have made more growth in all areas than any year prior. I attribute this across-the-board growth to many factors that can all be traced back to the additional help in the classroom in a grade level where class sizes continue to increase year after year. My teaching assistant spends her entire day providing targeted interventions for any and all students who have shown a need for extra support. She does this one-on-one and in small groups, and because of this model, I am able to spend more time with all my students, providing instruction and enrichment as well as interventions of my own. All students are able to receive instruction on their level and based on their needs because there is another educator in the room. My TA does not make my copies. She does not do my paperwork. The spread of levels and abilities in a first grade classroom is significant. I currently have students working on a pre-K level and students working on a third grade level and all of the levels in between. My TA works hands-on with students all day to help make sure all the students' needs are met. I must also mention the emotional benefits the children reap from having a TA in the room. When there is one teacher and 25 six-year-olds, it can be challenging to form and grow meaningful relationships with all of the students. While I have always done my absolute best, my best is better with another adult in the room. There is time for check-ins with students, conversations around concerns and feelings, and overall more connected students and adults. Although we are several years post-COVID, we must remember that the children coming through our primary classrooms are still children who were impacted by that time. The children slated to enter first grade are children who missed out on things like early intervention and high-quality early childcare programs, and are presenting with significant speech, fine motor, emotional, and attentional needs. We are still feeling the effects of COVID on our scholars. You say that your priority is the literacy of our scholars. Well, children learn to read in first grade. With TAs in first grade classrooms, we are going to see less students falling behind and more students entering second grade on grade level or above. I know that first grade TAs were paid for by ARP funds, and I know that the budget is tight. But I also know that where there is a will, there is a way. And if you wanted to have TAs in first grade classrooms, if you wanted all our scholars to be literate, you would find a way. Thank you.
There is no one else signed up, but if anybody would like to stand up and make comments on agenda items, you're welcome. Okay, we'll move to public comment on non-agenda items. Please.
First person that signed up to speak on non-agenda items is Ms. Carol Mineo on the NFL Town Branch.
I'm going to speak from my seat, if I may. I have two items I like to speak on. One, I know we have 3 or more AIS cuts in the current budget. Knowing that literacy is of a high priority to everybody around this table and everybody around and sitting in the room, I'm hoping that those cuts will be looked at a little bit differently and that we can get an answer from Dr. Manning Campbell saying that they will not be reading teachers that will be touched, that perhaps it will be the coaches that are in a position to come on board. I really think, having been a principal and having worked with AIS reading teachers, they're really important to our kids moving forward. All of our kids that are challenged, and I think those are the kids we need to really give the most to at this time. So that's my first thing. The second thing is, on Saturday I went to the town branch of the library. I felt like a little kid again. I walked in, the librarians helped me pick books. I was like a little kid. I was so happy. I'm encouraging everybody, stop by. It's a wonderful little place. It's kind of hidden. It's on Route 52. I know this is like a non-paid advertisement, but just like you, I will say, go visit the town branch. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
The other person signed up is Ms. Dawn Fuchek.
Hello again. So many of you know I am a former board member, and I also now do work facilitating leadership development workshops. So I work with school boards around New York State. With new people joining the board after next week's election, I wanted to speak a little bit on the roles and responsibilities of the board. The board's job is to hire and evaluate the superintendent, propose the annual budget to the voters, set policy. Those 3 things are the board's exclusive authority, and you only have authority as a collective body, not as individual board members. The board does not run the district. That is the job of the superintendent. It is the board's job to ensure that the district is being run properly, and that is done by providing oversight. Some ways that a board might provide oversight are through setting policy, monitoring student achievement, working towards a collective mission, vision, and set of goals, and monitoring the budget to be sure that the resources are being allocated and aligned with the district's mission, vision, and goals. The board hires a superintendent as the educational leader to run the district. The board does not direct the superintendent on how to do their job. You don't have that kind of supervisory authority. And while the superintendent is your one and only employee, they are not your subordinate. The superintendent is a member of your governance team. You are supposed to work together and collaboratively for the betterment of the district. I would hope that as the board moves forward with new members, Everyone takes the time to learn and to understand their role and responsibility and finds a way to work respectfully and collaboratively for the betterment of all in the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. Thank you.
Okay, we have no one else signed up. If anybody else would like to speak, thank you.
Okay. My name is Kathy Foster. I can do this. Okay, some of you know me, and some of you don't. And some of you know I'm a bitch. But the one thing I am is honest. And I'm not used to talking in front of people, but I felt I have to do that tonight. I'm a graduate of the Newburgh Free Academy, along with my parents, my brother, and my sister. My niece, who is now, took every advantage of the Newburgh School District being interracial. She is now a financial analyst for a Foot Locker that she just left, and now she's a financial analyst of a major software company for the Newburgh School District. Okay. My brother is the head custodian at NFA. It's a joke in our family because everybody goes back and says to him, "You actually her sister?" Because he is so nice, okay? But there's one thing that I have to say. I'm talking tonight not only to represent my department, 38 years in the district. I started working in Connecticut in a major corporation, and a year after, I was young, so I was on the chopping board. My father worked for the Newburgh School District for 25 years. And he said to me, I kept putting out all my resumes and whatever, and he said, I'm gonna bring you down to the board, get a job there. I'm like, he goes, it's a pension, it's this and that. 18 years old, I didn't understand that. But, so I came down, and I ended up in the special ed department. And I took the test, and I became on the top 3, and they moved me to Horizons. And I didn't feel challenged there. Believe me, I'm not saying anything wrong, but coming from corporate and working in a law firm in high school, and I said to my father, this is not gonna last. And I got fortunate and I got back to special ed. And I thought later years I'd move on, but I didn't. 38 years in special ed, and boy, have I grown. I'm not only the support staff for pre-K, the only one for pre-K. I am also the one who does all the state reporting for the special ed department. And I make sure it's accurate, because the one grant affects everybody's salary. And my department will tell you, I'm like a bear when I'm working on that. So I will defend my department, and I will defend my boss. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm gonna say tonight, I'm embarrassed that I lowered myself to fight on social media because somebody came at me. If anybody's on Facebook or whatever, these are my nails. I was the one at Chocolate Spa that was dogged, okay? And I lowered myself to do that, and I'm very disappointed in myself that I did that. But I just hope, I don't know what's gonna bring, and I don't know the board members are gonna be in July, and I'm gonna say, I had a private conversation with the person who came at me, and we resolved it privately, not on Facebook, and we both agree it's for the children, and that is what we're here for today. So I sure hope in 2024 and 25, it's not about social media. It's not about dogging people, because I know I'll never lower myself to that degree again. It is about the children, and that's why I'm here for 38 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak on non-agenda items? Okay.
Hi. Hi over there. Okay. I'm Tracy. I have 3 kids in the district. Well, I want to say something positive first before I have questions. The Wizards game, it was fun. I went to NFA with my kids, and they absolutely love the Wizards. They got their shirts signed. If anyone doesn't know the Wizards, they're like the Harlem Globetrotters, the Harlem Wizards. They were NFA Maine. They had a game. They played against the faculty, including the superintendent, and it was funny. It was fun. It was funny to watch. And Mr. Dotto, and I know he was speaking. He probably left, but it was fun and exciting, and I hope that they get to do that more often because it's nice to interact with the faculty on that level. And my kids definitely had a fun time. So I wanted to say something positive. I want to speak on some comments that. So this weekend, I know it's Board of Elections is coming, and so I was talking to the parents, going around with flyers and speaking whoever candidates I was speaking for. And the concerns were bullying. Bullying is still really a major subject with the parents. And one parent came out to me, which is really disturbing, and she has an exceptional learner student, I think it was Garnertown, and the student was coaxed to go outside or go in an area where they said there are cameras. I didn't know there was cameras in the school. So they said they went to a place and they had beat him up. And although administration settled it and helped the child and helped the mother, we still want to find out, how did an exceptional learner, how is that possible? How are they protecting the students? Not just exceptional learners, but bullying. When I explained what a DASA complaint is, they didn't know what I was talking about. A lot of parents were concerned about what is a DASA complaint, how can they protect themselves. So that was a major concern. Another concern is oftentimes there's communication or there's miscommunication between the information that the parents are getting. I don't know if it's from social media. I don't know where they're getting it from, but there are people that say, there's no, for example, in Garnertown, there's no PT and OT. They're not getting services. But then I find out, they rotate in the building and they may not be there that day, but no one knows who's getting the services. So oftentimes there's miscommunication. So I just wanted to clarify that people that are saying that people aren't getting services, can look into that. The other concerns that I had was the psychological services of the students and the mental well-being of the students. I know we're focused on academics, and I agree that the AIS program is very important and supportive education is very important. And I have said this for my kids that have IEPs, and I have kids that don't have IEPs. And so they need the teacher's assistance as well. But as far as supportive services for their mental well-being, my son had an incident last year, and although psychological services was not on his IEP, he needed services for a temporary basis. And I was told that the psychologist at the school only had time for the kids with the IEPs, that had IEPs. And I was told to get psychological services for my son outside, and this was not the first time that this happened. A few years ago at a different school, I was told that as well when he was having he had behavioral therapy, which is group therapy, and at the time he doesn't know red flags. He was learning normal behavior through group therapy. He was doing very well, and then the following year it got taken off because another kid needed it more than him. And so my question is about why is there not enough focus on the mental well-being of the children as far as psychology services goes, and that there's only a certain amount of time for kids with IEPs? What happens to the kids that have incidences, that need psychological services, that need to talk, that need to come out of the classroom, that need that extra time, the mental well-being? So I just want to know what was in place, if you have any committees on that, if you have any extra psychological services for students that don't have IEPs? How do they able to get services without going outside of school? And that's it.
Thank you. Any other comments, non-agenda items? Okay. With that, we were going to move into executive session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: employment history of employees or corporations, and the matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, CSEA, NTA, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. Can we entertain a motion in a second for executive session? Please call it.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
We will be about 1 hour. Welcome back. To continue the meeting, we're at item 5, Superintendent, with the Superintendent's update. Dr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Duray. Good evening. Before I share my update, my team and I would like to respond to public comments that were made this evening. Mr. Christopher Bayer will be speaking to questions asked about psychological services and mental health supports.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. So I just want to say publicly that we support our mental health concerns in our buildings. All of our buildings are staffed with social workers, psychologists, and school counselors. Pre-COVID to post-COVID, we've actually gone up in the number of social workers in our buildings, and we've maintained the same number of school counselors and psychologists. That includes the current cuts that are in the proposed budget. So we are very strategic in terms of how we ensure that our students have their needs met. Mandatory services always come first, because that's a mandated service, it's required. We do not take a service away from a child to give it to another child. That just doesn't happen. We have folks in every building to support the mental health. What's also important to know is that right now we are going to be applying to 3 grants that have been put out by the federal government. We hope to get them. And they're about increasing our number of mental health providers in the district, as well as working on restorative practices and on reducing school violence. So we're working with the grants team, and that will also help us to support our mental health. And the last comment that Ms. Peterson wants me to say is that sometimes the needs of students exceed the building. We are not a licensed mental health clinic. We provide school-based supports, and we understand our students have a lot of need. But when those needs exceed our capacity to help students maintain themselves in the school, we have to reach out, and we do that very well, to our community supports, who provide much more intensive services than what schools can do as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bayer. Mrs. Andrea Moriarty will be speaking to questions related to teaching assistants.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. Yes, it is a true statement that the first grade teaching assistants were funded through the American Rescue Plan funding that was afforded to us, with the intention of helping our youngest scholars transition back and supporting them to meet their needs in the first grade classrooms. So that was a wonderful thing and an opportunity that we had for those students in those classrooms. We will continue to look for other funding sources. We will continue to assess the needs of our students and assign staff where we can to meet those needs of our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Moriarty. Next, I would like to provide a brief update for this evening. This weekend, we had an exciting and engaging event for the whole family when the Harlem Wizards came to town. Earlier this week, our annual My Brother's Keeper coronation celebrated some outstanding leaders and community members for their support for our amazing academic growth of our scholars. You saw them on full display tonight. We have, our first district-wide spelling bee coming up on May 21st at 5:30 p.m. at NFA Main. There are dozens of end-of-year events and culminating activities showcasing student achievement throughout the district. And just yesterday, we learned that the district received a grant to help support one of our many, many literacy initiatives. I can't wait to share more information about some fun summer activities that we have planned to help support our learners and their literacy skills throughout the entire summer. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. We're moving on. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Campbell, something was mentioned earlier about the Sonia Dixon Garden. Can you give some depth to that? Was there a dedication? Was there something that we missed? Because I thought I think that's an incredible idea, but I would have loved to have been a part of it. The Sonia Dixon Garden? So it hasn't had a grant.
It's at the beginning stages, so we will absolutely have more information for the community about that garden. That is a great idea.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 6, Clerk of the Board, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the minutes from April 23rd and April 26th on consent.
Get a motion and a second.
So moved.
Any discussion on the item?
Point of order, we need a second, sir.
Second.
We didn't have a second, okay. Any discussion on these items? Vote.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
That concludes my items, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Moving on to item 7, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Good evening, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 7.1 through 7.22 for your consideration on tonight.
Anybody like to separate out any items? Yes,
7.6, please.
7.6. Get a motion and a second on 7.1 to 7.22 minus 7.6.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on these items? Mr. Levinstein.
So, for the delight of many, I will not be reading all the resolutions, a synopsis of all the resolutions. We had a meeting today, a personnel meeting, and we did not have a lot of time because we had grievances to hear, but we did get it going. So I hope that that continues, and I thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Ms. Mineo.
I have a question or a comment on 7.16, that's the stipend. I feel like we've had a lot of stipends this year, and I think that we need to really think about maybe including them in contracts rather than doing stipends from now on. And I know this may not be my job to do after tonight, but I think that it's something that we should look at. That's one comment. And could somebody talk to us about the Albany School Review? Or is that that's a different thing? That's under conferences, correct? Thank you. I will hold on that one. Thank you.
So in regards to item 7.16, this is a specialized grant opportunity that we have. So the Learning Technology Grant, we've done a lot of different curriculum writing to embed learning technology standards throughout our curriculum. And this is the final stage where it's an extra amount that we have to present, a video and resources. So it's above and beyond outside of the normal day. So that is where this stipend comes from.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on 7.1 to 7.22 minus 7.6?
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi? Yes. Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Okay, could we get a motion and a second on item 7.6? Any discussion on this item? Ms. Mineo?
I just think at this current political time, this is not a time to be adding anything. So, thank you.
If I may respond, this is actually not an additional position. This is replacing a retirement of an account clerk so that we standardize on that position title in our functional areas in the finance department.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring. Any other discussion on 7.6? Call the vote.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
No.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my items.
Okay. I gotta get to. All right, item 8, Assistant Superintendent of Finance. Good evening, Ms. Roaring.
Thank you, Mr. Duray. This evening, the Finance Division presents items 8.1 to 8.11 for routine consent.
Could we get a motion and a second on 8.1 to 8.11?
Second.
Any discussion on these items? We're good.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you. Moving on, number 9, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Elementary, Ms. Moriarty. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you. Elementary Curriculum and Instruction presents item 9.1 for consent agenda.
Get a motion and a second for 9.1?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 9.1? We're good.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my item.
Thank you. Item 10, Assistant Superintendent, Curriculum and Instruction, Secondary. Good evening, Dr. Mack.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. I have items 10.1 and 10.2 for your consideration this evening.
Anybody like to separate out any of these items? Get a motion and a second?
Second.
Any discussion on 10.1 or 10.2? Ms. Mineo.
Could somebody talk to us a little bit about the Albany School Review? Just to give a little information, please.
Mr. Forget.
Thank you, Mr. Dre. The Albany School Review is actually a retreat for our schools that are in the accountability system. So newly identified, we have Horizons on the Hudson and we have Newburgh Free Academy. Those schools must go under a needs assessment to determine what barriers are preventing the students from being successful. This year, Dr. Campbell asked that we do a much more intense needs assessment in each of those schools, rather than just doing simple tasks of conversations. She encouraged us to dig deep into the data. So we looked at academic achievement data, school process data, demographic data, and achievement data. We then did on-site classroom observations and looked at what's happening in the classrooms. We then engaged in conversations with the faculty to talk about what they envision for their school, where they would like their school to be in the future. We met with parents and did parent meetings so that we incorporated their desires and their wishes for improvements within the school. We talked to students. We analyzed the multi-tiered system of support process. All of that data has been collected and gathered, will be summarized, and during a 3-day retreat in Albany, we will sit down and we will unpack all of that data. On the second day of that retreat, we're bringing in professional development providers who are going to present to them evidence-based practices that they can implement in the school So we're no longer just going to meet and use the Title I money for meeting and discussing. We're going to use the money for implementing and hopefully seeking change. So we've got a vendor coming in to work with us on effective instructional strategies at all levels. We have a vendor coming in to talk to us about whole school reform, specifically possibly for two of our schools, South Middle School and Horizons on the Hudson. That particular program, Ms. Mineo, incorporates an English language arts curriculum for grades 6, 7, and 8. And it also talks about a different method of teaching. So it's kind of highlighting a variety of different things that we've been talking about for years. So we're using the planning money that we're given by the state to really do a deep dive to see how we can crank up those school comprehensive education plans to make them more focused and targeted.
Thank you, Mr. Forget.
Any other discussion on 10.1, 10.2? Good.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
All right, item 11, Assistant Superintendent of Exceptional Learners. Good evening, Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Doré. Exceptional Learner Division has 2 items on the consent agenda for your consideration.
Thank you. Would anybody like to separate either item? Can we get a motion in a second then?
So moved.
Any discussion on either item? Good. Good.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Grant? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
On these wonderful new microphones, I'd like to say that concludes my items. This is amazing.
We will be returning to executive session. We still will be returning to executive session. You got to vote. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: employment history of employees or corporations and the matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. We had a motion and a second to go back into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Grant? Mr. Harvey? Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes. We will be returning only to close out the meeting and adjourn.